Welcome out to the show tonight, guys. It's Studio 321. This is your host, Eddie B. So, I watched the Putin-Trump press conference tonight. If you don't know, they had the meeting in Alaska trying to get this war settled up. Trump's been really working hard trying to get this, actually trying to get Putin to the table to at least have a conversation about stopping the war. He's been attacked, like crazy by the Democrats and the liberals. They're saying that he's going soft on Putin, that, he's kissing his butt, this and that. But they don't seem to understand that you can't attack somebody, call them names, insult them, and then expect them to come to a meeting with you. It doesn't work that way, okay? So, Trump's been kind of tiptoeing around him the last couple of weeks, kind of buttering it up, trying to get this meeting set up. They had the meeting today, and then they did a press conference afterwards. I watched the press conference. I'm sure some of you did. Some of you probably didn't. So what I'm going to do is, I really want to just, there's really four things I wanted to touch on. I'm going to try to condense this down for you. And it's my four takeaways from this meeting that they had today. So, number one, they had the meeting in Alaska. Then after they finished, I think it was like a 3.5 hour meeting. After they finished the meeting, then they did a joint press conference. They walked out on the tarmac at the Air Force Base there. They walked down the red carpet together, walked up on stage. It said Alaska 2025. Trump had the F-22s and a B-1 bomber fly overhead as they were walking. It was super cool. They had some F-35s parked out there as well. Just, little bit of show of power there, which was cool. You know how Trump is, man. He's a showman, always does a good show. And just a little bit of a show of strength, which I thought was cool. It was just enough, but not too much. Okay. My first takeaway from the meeting. Trump was way more serious this time. I know he's had meetings with Putin in the past, conversations with him, I think, phone calls and whatnot. And it seems to me what Putin tries to do is he'll play the game along with you, make you think you're gaining some headway. And then, I think he just uses it for stalling and buying time. And then he just goes back to what he was going to originally do anyways. And, it kind of made Trump look bad for a couple times there because they would have a good meeting. Then Trump would come out and say, oh, yeah, I think we made, some good progress. And then it kind of blows up in his face. So this time around, I think Trump is way more hip to the game with him. And, he seemed way more serious. He didn't allude to, making too much progress, said we think we had a great, had a great meeting, some good conversation. This was the first of many. That was a big key takeaway for me. He said it was the first of many meetings. And so he's not rushing. He's not saying it was a victory. He's not saying it was a defeat. He's just saying it was the first of many. It was kind of like the process of getting the meeting started, right? Opening the door, if you will. So that was my first takeaway from that. Like I said, he in the past, Putin's kind of burned him, but Putin has burned a lot of people that way. He always does the same thing, tells you how great you are. Yeah, we're gonna do all this, and then it never happens. So I like that. I thought it was very reserved. He's not over-promising to the American people, and he's not under-promising. He just said, hey, we're here, and so far things are going well. Okay. What it looks like they're going to do next, I think they're going to have a meeting either again in Alaska. Somebody was saying that they possibly might have a meeting in Moscow where Trump will go see Putin. Okay. Now, I know Zelensky would not go to that meeting in Moscow because they're at war. Okay. That would be dangerous to his life. Wouldn't be smart. So no, you wouldn't want to do that. So if the next meeting is in Moscow, Zelensky will not be there. Zelensky was not there today either. It was just a meeting for Putin and Trump, I think, to break the ice and get things moving forward, okay? If they have another meeting in Alaska, then maybe Zelensky and Putin will be there. But if they have the meeting in Moscow, I'm sure Zelensky will not be there because that's it's wartime. Okay. one of the big takeaways for this, it was actually the biggest takeaway for me. I think a lot of us knew this to be true anyways, but it was weird to hear it coming out of Putin's mouth. Putin said that Trump was right, that if Trump had been president when this war started, this war never would have started, okay?
And in the end, I would like to add one more thing. I'd like to remind you that in 2022, during the last contact with the previous administration, I tried to convince my previous American colleague that the situation should not be brought to the point of no return when it would come to hostilities. And I said it quite directly back then that it's a big mistake. Today, when President Trump saying that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that.
Putin said that he tried to reach out in 2022 to the Biden administration, and they would not talk to him, okay? And so hence the war, the war, I don't know if the war had just started or if it was, if it was in the very, very beginning phases and they were trying to stop it before it started. But I do remember that. I remember them saying that Putin had tried to reach out to Biden administration and they would not talk to him, okay? To me, that just shows the whole reason to have an open dialogue, even with people that you can't stand, right? We know Putin's an adversary. I think everybody knows that, okay? But the way Trump likes to do it is he always likes to have you a phone call away. He doesn't want all these barriers. He wants to be able to pick up the phone and talk to you directly and say, hey, man, what's going on? Can we fix this? What's the problem? They were not doing that in the past, okay? Now, another big takeaway from this meeting for me, I'm sitting there watching this go on, and I always bring this up, and I hate to bring this up because I've done it in the past, but in the past is in the past. But man, could anybody imagine if Kamala Harris was doing this? Just think about if she was president at this time. Where would we be? I think anybody in their right mind, right mind being the key word, understands how important it is to have a real solid leader up there. Look, Putin's an intimidating guy. He's a little guy, but he's a killer, man. The guy is, he's a trip. So you could not put somebody like Kamala Harris in front of him. I don't even know if he'd show up for the meeting. He would have zero respect for her, okay? She's scared of her own shadow. We know that. She's intimidated by everybody. We know that. I don't think she could handle it. She would look fickle and very fragile up there. And guys like Putin would eat that alive, okay? So, man, it just reminds me that we dodged a bullet on that by not electing her. But it's also a reminder of this. Our leaders are a reflection of us, our society, okay? You have to have strength in that position. Look, America, whether we like it or not, we kind of in a certain way are the police of the world. If we're not around, all hell's going to break loose all around the world. That's just a fact. I used to not want to believe that, but that is the truth. When you really look at it, we have to be somewhat involved, all around the world. And when you have that, you have to have an imposing, strong leader, okay? You can't just play it around, I think over the last 10 years, we kind of got lulled to sleep with the social media and the internet, and we were kind of off in a daze, and we took our eye off the ball. We really did. And it hurt us, but it didn't just hurt us. And that's what I'm trying to get at now. There's 1 million dead in that war between Ukraine and Russia. Think about that. So is it our fault? Because we picked the wrong leader. Because if we picked the right leader, the war never would have happened. Putin said that today. Trump said it 100 times. I believed it since the beginning. You know what I mean? It does make a difference. We have to stay focused. Even in peace times when things are good and it doesn't seem like you need some, a leader like Trump, you do. You do, because when you pick the wrong ones, Not only does it hurt our country, there's 1 million people dead, man. Cities, whole cities destroyed, everything. And you know, Ukraine is, I guess it's rebuildable, you know, to a certain degree, but it's going to take years and years and years. Women, children dead, old people, everybody, you know. In a certain way, that's on us. Now, it's not on us because we didn't start the war. But our leadership failure didn't stop the war. And that's, you know, you have to think about that when you're voting. You do. We can't do this again, you know. It says, you know, good times make weak men. And that's a fact, okay? Good times make weak countries. They do. Because you forget about what's important. You forget about what got us to good times, which is strong leadership. So the strong leadership gets you to good times, and then weak leadership erases it all, you know. Yeah, I was watching that earlier, and it just kept coming back to me, man. I was like, oh my God, like, could you imagine her up there in this meeting? You know, it was crazy. Now, on another weird side note, to add to this, I guess Hillary Clinton said today that she would, if Trump can get this war stopped, that she would nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize, right? And I was listening to that, and I was like, man, nah, that's classic Hillary. She's just covering her butt, really, because think about it, right? When we were going through all this before about trying to stop the war, she never said a word. But what's the difference now? The difference now is Hillary and Bill Clinton are being subpoenaed to go in front of Congress and answer questions about the Russiagate stuff. So I feel like this is her trying to extend an olive branch to the Trump administration so that they take it easy on her. Now, you know, you might think that's silly, but man, look, that's how it works. I'm telling you, that's how it works. If she goes around and butters up Trump and nominates him for the Nobel Peace Prize, how could he turn around and put her in jail? You see what I'm saying? I mean, that's a little bit far out there, but I'm telling you, it's that's how it works, man. Politics is who you know and who you owe. That's what works. But anyways, guys, again, it was a good meeting. Very beginning stages. You didn't get any answers either way out of either side. They were both very cautious to give too much credit, or they didn't take too much credit away. They're just left it where it is, and I believe I think it's a solid start. It is. Of course, the liberals and the Democrats are saying, no, you know, actually it's disgusting, some of the stuff they say. I don't even want to bring it up, but it's terrible. You know how Trump's kissing his butt and all this stuff. But the truth is, to open the door for this meeting, they had to get this relationship going, and they just kind of tiptoed in on it. So we'll see what happens in the next couple weeks. I know that he wants to keep it moving, so there should be some more meetings soon, and we'll see what happens. But anyways, guys, I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you updated. If you like my video, please like and subscribe. This is Eddie from Studio 321. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.